So basically, as I was telling you yesterday, the power of Azure functions depend on a number of conditions. Say, for example, if you're basically doing or planning some kind of an activity that needs some kind of triggering mechanism, triggering in response to something. Say, for example, you're planning some kind of a, some blob trigger is coming, some blob is getting uploaded to your Azure blobs container. Then you need to do something, read the content of the blob and do something in response. Or suppose you are basically waiting for some kind of a mail to arrive, and you are going to read the content of that mail, or you are going to basically read the content of that attachment, and you are planning to do something. Or suppose you are planning to execute something in response to an HTTP request that is coming to you. And so all these triggers in some way or the other basically are linked to your Azure functions, which you can very well write your own set of codes, own set of commands to do this. So yesterday we basically were discussing about the Visual Studio aspects of creating an HTTP request. We basically read an HTTP request, serialized the HTTP request, and then we got a token. We opted a token, and in response, what we did was that we created a record in FNOps. So we are going to today, before we begin, I'll show you something very important, which I think that needs your attention. Is my screen visible? Can you please give me a heads up, please? My screen is visible, right? Ravi, you there? Am I audible, guys?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm coming to my Azure functions, and I'm trying to create an Azure function for you. So you can create in a Azure function in a number of ways. Suppose I'm coming to the home screen and I'm creating a resource out here, and I'm saying Azure function. So you can create from here directly. So this is the an, if layman's way of creating this. So I'm directly going here. I'm directly clicking on this guy, and I can create from here itself. Where it's going to ask me a number of questions. I can select my resource group. I can select the normal questionnaire station. Like I can select a resource group from here. Okay, I can give a name. Generally, the name, as I was saying, like first of all, it depends on the you have some kind of a project prefix. Say, for example, I am having a project like this, and I'm giving a name. Name is the purpose which your Azure function is doing. Say, for example, I'm handling the inventory uploads, and then actually some kind of a suffix should be there. Say, for example, I'm doing this for UAT, or I'm doing this for production, or I'm doing this for demo, or I'm this for my dev. So like that, I can end this one. It depends. Basically, it depends from project to project your naming conventions. So once this is done, then basically I can select code based or a container based. Okay, so if I'm selecting code based, it's asking me what kind of runtime stack you want to select. So I'm selecting .NET, and then you can create an operating system for your Azure function. Like you can choose an operating system for your Azure function, like it's going to be Linux or Windows. So it depends basically. Mostly, as we are handling financial operations, mostly this kind of uh, Azure functions will take up Windows operating system mostly. If not all, we can also have Linux-based operating systems. Say, for example, I'm giving an example where I am telling from my experience. Like some time back, there was a requirement where it needed me to read from a mailer attachment and do something in an inventor. Like suppose I'm reading the content of the mailer attachment. If it's a PDF and it is a more than one number of pages, it should split up each and individual pages to Azure Active Directory to an Azure container, and from that container it should go to a you know uh, to an on-premise folder location. Okay, so this kind of a stuff. First, I said, why don't you make use of Azure Gateway? Gateways are very good in moving between on-premise to cloud or from cloud to on-premise. So why don't you make use of Azure Gateways? So they say no, it's expensive. So instead of that, you can make your own code and call them, instigate them from your Azure functions. What is that code? I will share it with you sometime because that is not exactly a part of this discussion. That's why I didn't show you. It's called SAMD client or Samba client. It is a very powerful and very cheap. It's just you need to import the Samba client in your .NET class, in your C# class, and that's it. You can move between one location to other. I can show you. I can share with you definitely this code sometime. So in such a Azure function, we made use of Linux operating system because Linux functions are very good in talking to Samba I'm just reviewing and creating this. So when I create this, automatically it will create an Azure function for me. Obviously it's going to take some time, as you can understand. In order to save the time for all of us, I've already created an Azure function. I can go to my Azure functions and I can show you what is that function that I have created. Azure functions. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Directly go to my Azure functions. So this is my Azure function which I have created. And inside this Azure functions, these are the set of functions which are already there, which are already created. How have I created this? It's very simple. I will show you how this deployment is done. And inside this, the app keys are there. These are very, essential parts of regularizing accesses from outside world to my Azure function. This apart, there are environment variables which I can store out here, which is a part in my configuration. Okay, so you can see lots and lots of environment variables here as a part of my configuration settings. How this get how did this get populated? How did this configuration variables get populated? I will show you. Give me some time. Let it get populated for me. Yeah. So see, firstly is the app connection string, Azure Web Storage, Cosmos DBSK. So many variables. Whatever I have written it there in my local settings.json, when I deployed them, all of it came and sat here. Sorry, all of it came and sat here. How did this happen? I will show you. It's a very beautiful function which comes as a part of deployment. So as I was telling you people yesterday, like when you are working with, as long as you're working with JSON settings, it's fine. The moment you are moving your code from your VM to your portal, your local settings.json would be simply overlooked. It will simply ignore it. The code will simply ignore it. Code won't be able to read the variables which you have defined in your local settings.json. Okay, local settings.json is primarily meant for your local VM applications only. So how will I carry out these variables from my local settings, local VM, to my portal Azure? So for that, I will show you how this could be done. Okay. So here is my Azure function. So here is my Azure functions, and I'll show you once again. Like it's a Windows function which I have created for the demo purpose, for this session purpose. Okay. And another good thing is you see if I go to functions and I go to my function one, which is basically an HTTP trigger. So you see I have run this HTTP trigger quite a number of times. And if I go to monitor, I can see the run details, the execution details. It takes some time to get calculated, and you see, one. These are the details of the run. So if I click on any one of them, see, that's what it is saying. Like whatever log dot information yesterday we were showing there is something called iLogger interface. Whatever information you will give, it will come here. It's something like info of X++. Okay, so I'm coming back to my Azure function, and I'll show you and another example where we can make use of a block trigger. So block triggers are very simple. It's just like yesterday how we created was that we can create a block trigger. Let me open a new instance of my Visual Studio, run as an administrator. Please ask me questions if you have anything on your mind. Okay, so I'm continuing without code, and I can select from a new project, and I'm selecting what? I'm selecting an Azure function. Okay, okay, okay. Just before I'm going to conclude the sessions today, so just a heads up from my side, like I'm planning uh, Python with TensorFlow session sometime maybe later next month, obviously on weekends, so that everyone can come. And it's going to be a machine learning program where we can leverage Dynamics 365 for both finance and operations as well as CE, and where we can create various kinds of predictive modeling. We can create various kinds of machine learning utility, and I think it could be a very exciting session just for everyone's help, because the industry is going towards heading towards that direction only, where all the futuristic trends like predictive modeling and all these activities are basically in vogue more and more. Okay, so with that, I will just give you a heads up as I'm planning. As the time gets draws to a close, I will just give you a heads up before that. Okay, so I'm coming to my Azure function and I'm selecting this guy. I'm giving a name, anything, just demo, trigger, block, trigger. Okay, and okay. So that moment itself, when I'm pressing next, it is saying what type of Azure function that you want to create. So I'm going to select from here block trigger. Okay, block trigger. The moment I'm going to say block trigger, there are certain parameters that you need to specify. What is that? One is the storage emulator, another is the connection string, and another is the path. What are these values? Okay, so storage emulator is basically, this is a beauty of Azure function. You see, I as long as I'm not deploying my Azure function, I can I can do some kind of a testing on my local VM. Where do I need to test this? This is why a storage emulator is required. Storage emulator is a service which is a kind of a local cloud storage form. It is not existing on cloud exactly, but I can do some kind of testing on my storage emulator before I publish it to my uh, a regular Azure portal. Okay, so when you are doing this, you can keep this connection string setting as blank, or optionally you can also give a connection string setting and a path. What is this path? And what is this connection string setting in? What is it actually signify? It signifies, if you come back to my older solution, you'll see this is also a sorry. Let me open my block trigger function. Okay, if I go to top, message. If I come to the top, you'd see connection is equal to path SQL. So if I come to path SQL, then if I go to my local settings, there is a variable called path SQL, which is nothing but the block storage, the particular block storage which I'm using. the connection string for my blob storage, which is nothing but I'm coming down to here and I'm going opening this blob storage. I'm opening my access keys, and this is the connection string which I have copied here. I've copied this guy out there. So this is where I've kept the variable. This is what exactly my path storage is. And instead of openly, it's not a good choice to keep the variables like this openly. So that is why I'm keeping it as it's a custom to keeping it under a name of a variable, which is in this case path string. Think of it as like I cannot keep my passwords and my confidential stuff openly, just like that. Okay, and as I was saying, so that is basically the connection string name, connection string setting name. And what is this path? Path is the folder, the container, which is going to be, which it needs to monitor, which it needs to work on. So in our case, if I take you back, if I've created a few containers for this demo purpose, these containers names are these three guys: dynamics, error, and process. So the idea is whenever any file is coming to my dynamics folder, it is going to be processed and moved to process folder. And if some kind of an error is encountered, it will move it to error. Just like in our earlier days, what we used to do in our, in MVC classes, storage classes, when we used to process between one folder to another, what we used to do in AX2012, it is exactly mimicking that basically. Okay, so I'm not creating this because I already have created and have kept it ready for the demo. I'm now closing this guy and I'm taking you back to my older solution. You see, so this is the name of the container which is going to be triggered, which the Azure function is going to work on. And see, it is very simple. So if I create this till up to here, it is going to come as a skeleton, as a template. It is going to be auto populated. Next, all I have done is that I have created some extra classes, extra line of codes to do certain activities. Okay, I will share this solution with you all. I will ask Ramit to upload this whole thing and to share with you so that you can download and you can keep working on this. You can do various kinds of your own testing and own R&Ds after that on the top of it. Okay, so my blob is what? My blob is nothing but the stream, the content of the file or the blob that is getting uploaded into my container. It is reading this container from using a screen reader. Once this is read, so there is a reader, which is this reader. Reader is basically the screen reader. So it is reading and typecasting it in the form of a string value, which is called request body. Again, after that, it is doing the same thing what I showed you yesterday, which is basically it's getting into a class called sales pool. So it is basically objectizing it, deserializing it, and it is typecasting this request body's content into sales pool result. Exactly what I was showing you yesterday. Then this is just for information purpose, and again I am what I'm doing is that I'm getting the value of the connection SQL. Where I'm getting the connection SQL value from the Azure Web Job Storage. What is this Azure Web Job Storage? It is a variable from my local settings JSON, Azure Web Job Storage. It is referring to that value. And then it is basically saying a blob. Okay, a blob. You all know what the blob is. So it is getting a reference from a folder called Dynamics, which is nothing but this guy. Whatever I am going to upload here, it is going to get it as from container this time. Then what I'm doing is that rest part I showed you yesterday, it is doing exactly same thing here. Like basically it is converting the content of the of the of the blob storage as a JSON string, as a JSON payload. Okay. And then I'm passing this to the same old method of yesterday. It is called to enqueue method. if it is successful, if it is true, if it is the insertion it's happening successfully, it will, it is calling to it's calling basically to a method known as move process. What is this move process? Because you see, this is a static method. That's why I did not need to instantiate it. It is directly I'm calling it. See, move process, and it's an asynchronous method. Asynchronous in the sense like I am not going to wait. I don't care whether it is getting executed or not. I'm not going to wait for it. I don't care about it. Okay, as compared to a synchronous activity. So here what it is doing is that it is getting hold of a source block and it is getting hold of a destination container. And simply it is deleting from the source block by using, it is deleting from the source block. Before that, it is asynchronously copying it to the destination folder with the keyword C, with the keyword as await. Why I need an await? Unless this is completed, unless that is completed, I won't go there. There's no point in deleting unless it is copied, right? That is, it is waiting. That is why. So once this is done, I am returning destination block, which is nothing but a, uh, you know, now this blob is basically has come here. I have got of the blob. Whatever file I was uploading, it is basically getting here. So first, if it is successful, then it will come to my process folder. If it is not successful, it will come to my error code. Simple. Okay. Only thing is like, I have, it's no point in again writing these two account. I can cut and I can bring it to here, because again I have written in two places. There's no point in writing. Okay, yes, I need to have a two container because you see in both these lines the values are different. Okay, but this is redundant. I can keep this up one level up out here also. Okay, so let me run this guide and I will show you what is exactly it is doing. And I will show you the file content here. See, it's a normal, I'm very sorry for this format. Please accept my apologies. It's a notepad. Okay, that is why it is unable to shape it up in the form of a readable JSON. Otherwise, it's a JSON actually. Actually, it's a JSON. Okay. And see, it's a JSON file. And what is it doing is basically, it just got started. So I'm coming down to here. I'm uploading this guy. For files, I can directly upload this guide and I can upload. So it will get uploaded in some time. And see, this the first line got executed. The full ID is this, full name is this. Now it is trying to insert into my FNO. Okay, as because this, as I was telling you, it got executed. It took some time, but don't worry. In reality, when you're really going to work with a real VM or you're going to work with a live scenario, this is not going to be this slow. It's going to be very fast. I am working as a VM as a service. That's why this slow. So don't worry about it. Okay, I'm coming back to here, and I'm just see this guy has got populated. Not just this, you see in my, if I refresh this file is gone from here. Okay, and where has it gone? It has come to my process folder. Okay, now what I will do is that I will again try to upload the same file. It sometimes so happens by mistake the user has sent the same file, or the same data has come to me. So what my user will do is that, and this record has already got populated. So what my user will do is that I will come to my Dynamics folder and I will upload it from here. Browse for files. Again, I'm uploading this file. Okay. So when I'm uploading this, you'll see it will, in a while, it will say like it's executed. Okay, it's executed. At the same time, you see nothing has happened here. No new record has got inserted. But at the same time, this file has been moved out from here. So where has it gone now? If I come to process folder, the process folder itself was there, the file was already there, so it's not there. Then if I go to error, it has got it populated here because it's an error file. That's fine. Okay. I'm just trying to just close this for a second and taking you back to what I was trying to explain yesterday. See, this is how which are Newtonsoft.json, which is and Newtonsoft.json itself and LINQ. Okay, so actually, what Newtonsoft does is that you can directly serialize or deserialize the contents of an incoming payload straight directly into your into your variables of your see just like example. If I come to my example here, sales school, and if you go to the definition, full ID, full name, and data area ID. It is without needing me to write in a single line of code. If you remember, just as I was telling you, the days of X++ when we used to be in X 2009 or X 12 days, these things were very difficult because these things were, yeah, it was still there. Newtonsoft.json was still there, but you cannot directly and so easily use them as compared to Dynamics 365 and right now what you do. So you can directly convert an incoming payload's variable values into a class and get it processed, take it for future. Please ask me questions and just pausing for a couple of moments just to take inputs from you. If you have any question here, please ask. No question? Okay, fine, no worries. Let me go back to another example of using Azure functions using on Cosmos Figure. Okay, so Cosmos Figures are something somewhat very powerful. Cosmos DBs are getting which is a document DBs which are basically no SQL offerings from Azure, which says basically I don't need to have
Subhashish,
uh,
I think we have a question. Sorry for interrupting. We have a question. Can you just add? Is there any upper limit for processing files? That is the question.
upper limit for processing files. Okay, that's a very good question. Basically, there is it depends on the container capacity. Like in, I'm talking about I mean the Azure storage which you are using. Depending on the Azure storage type what you are using, you can select the upper limit of the file. Or, however, there is no upper limit for your Azure functions. You as when a new file is going to be uploaded or created, automatically that will be picked up. Okay, so in net it depends on the limit. Basically, you are using the type of container, the type of storage that you're using. That is basically responsible for limiting your number of files, the number of amount of blobs that you are going to keep. That's actually is responsible. And the function is actually not responsible for the set. It just responds to whatever file is getting uploaded, added, or removed or modified. That's it. Okay. Thanks, Mark, for asking this question. If we go back to the session, like Cosmos TV, I was talking about the Cosmos TVs, Cosmos TV triggers. Let me share my share this PPT. So this is a classical example of a Cosmos DB trigger. So Cosmos DBs are getting very very popular these days, owing to the fact that Cosmos DB is now, it's a schema-less DB. Like I can, have you ever thought of creating anything on your table, irrespective of the schema? Like I can at the same time keep a vent table, and at the same time I can create also the contents of a customer table, and at the same time also keep the contents of a sales table. That's not possible on a SQL database, because SQL database do have a fixed schema. However, Cosmos DB is a is an excellent example where you can create and keep and nurture any kind of data sets, data volumes, and it's very fast. And Cosmos DB along with Mongo or Cassandra are excellent strategies for keeping your any kind of database, any volume of data, and you can integrate very easily with Azure functions, and you can make it talk to finance and operations. So the idea is, suppose I have a very voluminous data set that is coming in. If the difference between Cosmos DB trigger with any other trigger is, any other triggers basically takes up one record after another record after another record, that's sequentially. See, if you see this example of block, block trigger. Let me go back to the block trigger example and open this guy. So you see, every time one blob is added, it will be instigated, fired. However, Cosmos DB basically does not have that. Cosmos DB treats all the added files, all the added records as an array. And as a result, what happens is, like, I don't need to wait for the next record. It is just going to be processed at one go. So if I have 100,000 records being added into my Cosmos DB, I can make my Azure functions go through all of them in the form of an array, and process those records one by immediately. Uh, as a result, it's going to be very fast as compared to, if you see uh, any other way of integration, say for example, the block storage, or table as a service and all those things. It is much faster because it is treating the entire thing as an array itself. So I'm just coming down here in the Cosmos DB, and I'm opening the Cosmos DB object like this. Cosmos DB figured like this. Cosmos. So as I was saying, it is basically, you see, it's getting hold of my inputs as an array. It's as a list, and then I'm going through all the files through a for loop. So as compared to blob storage is reading one file after another, or HTTP request, response, one request after the another. But here, everything is going to be taken up to an array. So it's obviously, you can understand, it's much way faster basically. Okay, so I am writing Cosmos DB blogs. Please have a look on my Cosmos DB blogs example. You can get plenty of example how to manipulate with the the see, if you refer to my this example. So here I have my customer is my third party customer is giving me some kind of a file which is basically getting uploaded to my Cosmos DB, and there is a field known as processed. So I'm taking you there. I'm taking you to my storage account. Sorry, I'm taking you to my Cosmos DB account with my Azure Cosmos DB. I have written Azure Cosmos DB out here, and so here, if I go to my Explorer, Data Explorer, which is my Data Explorer here, and if I go to my launch to do this, so see, inside Cosmos DB, what happens is, this is my database account, this is my database, and this is my table items. Okay, so whenever I'm going to create a Cosmos DB account, I will see our database is going to get created just like to-do list, and inside that I can have uh, tables like this. So what I'm doing is that I'm coming to my records and trying to upload. Let me delete this device one. This, delete. what I'm doing is that I'm uploading a fresh JSON file here. I can manually create, or I can also upload a fresh JSON file here. So I'm this Cosmos DB before this. Okay, so what is my Cosmos DB test data? If I open this, you will see basically it's once again a JSON file with an array of JSON, each being a record, and you see in my process is basically 0. What is this? It is just like a flag, what we used to do normally in any uh, SQL example, where we have some kind of a flag indicating it is processed or not. So I'm uploading file here. It has got triggered. Okay, I'm coming here. One moment, just delete this. I'm uploading this. The moment I'm uploading this, it got created. If I refresh this, it will show me like this. See, here it showed me as processed was 0, but it has converted as process equal to 1. Just not that, it is basically, see, these two records got created here. These two records got created here. And you see the process is 1 in both the cases, which is an indication like whenever after uploading or after sending the file, if the third party user is going to take a look at, hey, what are the what are the records that have got processed successfully, they can find it from it. Okay, so chiefly what it is doing is that if I am stopping this track, and then passing it as a JSON variable, JSON string inside this incubator. And what is it doing is that it is updating the record. It is updating the record for each and every loop. It is updating the record. Now you might ask me, it's a don't you think if I'm having 100,000 records, 50,000 records, if I'm going to upload and loop through this record and I'm going to, you know, set, I'm doing some kind of a TTS begin commit. Obviously, it's a TTS begin commit activity. Don't you think it's going to be slow? No, it's not going to be slow because it's a document DB. It's not a SQL DB. It's a NoSQL DB actually. So that is why it's going to be very fast. So I'm getting inside this method update record, and you see what it's doing. Going to definition, just it is basically getting hold of the record by the primary key, which is in this case this screen ID, which is this ID. If I come here, this is the ID. This ID I got from my file which I uploaded this, which is this ID. Okay, so if I get in hold of this primary key, and it is just replacing it. It is just replacing it as process is equal to 1. Okay, so if you see a SQL server operation like this, it's going to be very slow because if that too I'm having so many number of records to be updated in a loop, it's not at all a recommended option. So that is why we do, remember, we always write TTS begin outside a loop. Okay, we never write TTS begin inside any kind of loop. That is eventually going to make your code very slow. So that is why you see this processed file is it is going to be very fast basically. It just reads that and replace itself by the new value of the property. That's it. The work is done. So this is a classical example of a Cosmos DB trigger. There are, there are so many examples like this. You can create your own triggers. You can create your own Azure functions in response to any phenomenon. Say, for example, as I was saying, I can read from a storage bus queue, or I can also read from a topic. So many things I can do depending on the scenario, the situation. And unfortunately, there is only one small problem with Azure Function. Like Azure Function, as you know, It's a stateless protocol. So if I'm going to retain values between several runs, subsequent runs of the program, it won't be able to run or retain that. So for that, something else you have to think of, which is the durable function, which is going to be our next topic in the session. Before that, I'm just taking a break and asking you if you have any question. You can ask it. Okay, no question. Okay, fine, thank you. Okay, so let me take you back to my PPT. So if I go back to my PPT of durable functions, so durable functions are of various types. Like you see, chaining is there, fan in, fan out is there, asynchronous HTTP APIs are there, monitoring is there. So many types of durable functions are there. So in essentially, what durable function does is that it is returning or it is retaining the value of the previous runs of the Azure function. Okay, so where can I use this? Where can I use this durable function? What's the point of retaining values between my Azure functions? I can give you an example. Just an idea. You can take this idea to the next level. You can think of where else you can use this durable function. So think of it. If I'm going to, you know, obtaining a token is basically a very time consuming. So your token means what? Token means you are basically going back to a web service. You are basically calling a web service and you are obtaining the value of a short, uh, short-lived token for some time. So if it is a looped activity, I have several hundred thousand records which I need to process, and again I'm obtaining the value of my token. It's not a good practice. It's not a good structure actually. That too, if it is an Azure function, it's not a good practice actually. What if I get the value of the token and then I retain the value of the token in subsequent runs? Then what? You know what I'm saying? I am getting at the top, at the start, at the outside of my loop, I'm getting hold of the token. And then I'm processing my loop and by using the same token as long as it is alive. Once it is dead, then I will again uh, ask for a new token. So if you plan such a kind of an architecture, it's going to be very fast, very powerful architecture. So I'll show you how to create a durable function. Okay, so I am just going to coming back to my script. Okay, scripting it and basically a durable function which I have already created for it. How to create a durable function for before that? So it's very simple. Once again, I need to go to a new project and I need to go to Azure function and I'm going to select this Azure function guy and you give a name just like DM durable. And here you have to select durable function from the template. Durable function orchestration from the template. So when you create this, what it will do is that it will create a durable function for you. You know what? Like I really like this durable function guy basically, just because you can retain the various values of your variables over the various sessions, various runs of the sessions. Okay, so this is the default skeleton value which I got created. Okay, so Tokyo, Seattle, and London. So what will happen is, allow me a moment actually. I think this thing is not installed. Okay, so I'm very sorry. Somehow the postman got uninstalled once it will get installed immediately. Okay. So let me run you through the code what is happening in the meanwhile. I'm very sorry for this. Somehow it actually. So you see, what is it doing? First of all, let's go one by one. When you are calling a durable function, there is going to be a start. If you remember, the MVC pattern is just like you see Microsoft. Ultimately, eventually, it's Microsoft. So that's why it is basically, you know, it is following the same pattern of the architecture. So there is, if you see the NPC pattern, if you remember the NPC pattern, so there is going to be a controller class from where a contract class is called, which in turn sometimes or optionally call a UI class. Then the control comes back to the contract class, and then finally from the controller, your service class is going to be called. Service class does everything. So similarly, just like here, you have a start pattern. You remember the start operation, it is doing exactly the same thing. So it is doing the same thing, start operation. From here it is calling function one. What is this function one? So I'm going to top function one, where it is saying function one. Here it is basically, you see outputs.add, outputs.add. What is this outputs? Output is basically a list. Okay, and it is basically storing the value of Tokyo, Seattle, and London, like that. In any arbitrary values, it is storing, and it will. It is saying that how does it is going to behave is basically, if I return outputs, it is simply going to say this, print this as in the form of an array, just like this. And how is it basically printing? It is in turn calling a function called function one hello, which is this guy. Here, I'm just skipping to the app. I'm running this variable function here. I need to get the name of my variable function from my console. Okay, same once again, the same thing happened here as yesterday. As this game is a very very low capacity machine, and it does not have enough of open ports available. That's why it is crashing down. So I will go back to the durable function which I created for you. So this is how actually you can create a durable function, just for your FYI. How do you do this? And then you can change your logic accordingly. Okay, so I'm coming back to the durable function version which I created for you, which is here. I'm closing this, right? Open my durable function. This is durable function demo, and I'm in the solution. It's a very simple durable solution, a durable function which I created for you. So if I open my object function one, see, it is very simple. First of all, it is sending. First of all, it is basically sending an item ID as a part of either as a query string or as a part of the JSON query. Simple, nothing else. Just like the previous cases, here also I created a class which is this class. Request.item ID. Second, this is request object. This class I created. If I open this class, it is inside this class. Slow. If I go inside this class, go to definition. It is getting hold of the item ID, nothing else. So I'm coming out of this, and I am basically creating a new instance ID. Okay, so here a durable function remembers its previous avatars, previous parts, previous incarnations philosophically by remembering the instance ID. So if you send the instance ID as instance ID 1, it will understand, okay, so I'm talking about this avatar. So instance ID 2, it is talking about this avatar, like that. So here I'm just creating a new instance ID, and I'm sending across the item ID as a part of the request. Then it is calling this function one. So I'm going to function one. What is doing is, see, you remember yesterday we were talking about some kind of sequential sequential durable function, which is nothing but chaining. Chaining is what? Chaining is basically, think of a number of cascaded function. One function's output is going to be another function's input, like that. So exactly it's doing here. You see, it is first of all is getting the value of item ID from the context. Then what is it doing? It is sending function one hello, which is this function one hello. And inside this, I'm getting a value of the token. And then I'm doing something as process item, which is an input to the process item method. So I'm getting inside the process item and I'm just doing something. Suppose I'm just here in this, for example, I'm basically getting a random function, random number generation, nothing else. So this is what, see, one function's outcome is being fed to another function's inputs. So like that, basically, that's what actually it's happening. Okay, and I am trying to run this guy. I will also tell you another idea, like what where you can use this. Bigger. Okay. So this is my Azure function name. Okay, this is the Azure functions URL where which I can put it right here itself. And in the body, I'm pass on a raw JSON which is suppose like this. I'm giving any value like I am sending this. You see, it will take a while. Okay. Okay, my bad. What is the problem? Problem is this: if I have selected this as a JSON, but this is of type text, which is wrong. It should be JSON. And sending one. So see, this is the outcome of my execution. Outcome of my execution. So what I will do is that I will click on this hyperlink and I will click on this hyperlink, so it will open on a new tab and I will again send this. So it will say like, see, this is the outcome which it has got created. This is a random number generation. Okay, if I click it again on this, it will return the same output. Why? Because you see the instance ID, as long as this GUID is same, that's why it's not changing this. It is going to retain this value. This is why it is called stateful function. It is remembering the variables. The previous runs variables complete its remember. That's about the variable function. Where I can use this is one just example. You see, I have created a token value and then remembering this token across the different runs of the program. Just not this, you can also use this as a very bulky batch job operation, which is think of a batch bundling phenomenon. Batch bundling is a very powerful mode of solution designing where you can, I have a sales order and sales order and sales line, like that. One sales order could be having more than 10, 30, 40 lines, anything. And this kind of a combination, I have so many sales orders and sales orders and sales line are coming to me on as an incoming file script. What we can do is that we can create a multi-threaded batch with the form of a batch bundler. So batch bundler means what? I can process similar records on one thread. So I can keep all my sales order header and my lines. Sales order S1 with the lines on one thread. Sales order S2 on all the sales order S2 lines on another thread, like that. So eventually it's going to be super fast. If you normally process this as a normal multi-thread batch, it's going to be way faster than this. You can incorporate such a kind of structure out here very easily in this kind of a durable function strategy. If you're interested, I can share with you one blog which I've written for this, which is basically making use of such a kind of phenomenon, which is using such a batch bundling with durable function. Please let me know. I am stopping this.